GearWebsites.com is your source for firearms-based playing cards and books. We also have mugs, shirts, and posters with designs that we've made live. Of course, we have patches. Every Friday is Free Patch Friday. We appreciate your support. Thank you for shopping at GearWebsites.com. And welcome everybody to our Daily Gun Show. Come to live every weeknight at midnight Eastern, and we talk about guns for about an hour. Getting started here. The co-host situated, I guess. And what's going on over here? Oh, I got my screens squished over, so we're dragging everything around. And sorry, I just woke up. So getting back to bearings here and getting started. I think Foss is listening, but I need to figure out a way to get the video. I can't get it over here. Oh, I should have probably said it right there. Anyway. All right, so thanks everybody who's joining us live. Late start. About a half an hour in real life. So anybody who's listening to this in the future, you get the comfort and convenience of listening to it when you feel like clicking the button. Everybody else has to wait until I wake up and then show up. And then get the co-host tail just right. Felt like this was the way to go today. Takes a little while because I have to get him situated in the thing so that his tail comes out and hangs out just like that. I figured that was the way to start the show today. So that was a big portion of our Legion Relay. So G23 is showing up. Thanks for joining. Woods is out there. Shouting out the co-host. There's Clover driving. Where you at?
Hey, man.
Hey, where you at?
I am about to leave Albuquerque.
Oh, you're pretty
Lord,
close. Too.
Lord willing, I don't take a wrong turn. Know what I mean?
No. Oh, I was thinking Flagstaff. So Albuquerque, yeah, you got a little while to go still.
Oh,
and you're not stopping, you're just still driving now?
Yeah. I mean, we're not like staying over anywhere now. But we're like way ahead of schedule.
Yeah, I was gonna say
because we can't even, the earliest we can possibly get into the condo thing is 2 tomorrow. So like we're just, yeah, we've been spending extra time when we stop, just chilling or whatever.
Yeah, you're not doing nothing in Albuquerque then right now. Where'd you stop in Albuquerque?
We just stopped at the gas station to fill up.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of them. There's Albuquerque, I think of it as the north-south road. I forget what it's called, and then the east-west road.
I can't tell you. I can tell you. So we're on 40. Yeah. I can tell you that much. It's pretty much 40 all the way from Amarillo. You know.
Well, yeah. When you go through Albuquerque, you're going to come down from Amarillo. You're going to come kind of down into town, and then the first thing you really hit, the only landmark you hit, is the big highway that goes north-south. So evidently, you didn't stop like right then and stop at that on the TA, I think. That's
No. We pretty much only stop at Love's.
Oh, okay. Not in Bucky's, I imagine.
Oh yeah. We stopped at Bucky's like 2 hours into the trip. Yeah, but there's no Bucky's after that. So yeah, they put Bucky's in weird places, and I guess it's because of. Oh, I'm not real sure where I'm going.
Well, they probably put them where it was cheap and where they figured people would get to them. That's probably the factor. All right, so I just really started the show here. I'm a little bit late. So you're driving already, or you're just getting into the car?
I'm in the car. I am driving, and I'm trying to figure out where I need to go to get back on the interstate. Wrong time in Albuquerque. So I want to go figure, right?
Yeah, well, pretty much all the signs are going to say Texas or Arizona, essentially.
Yeah.
All right, well, let me get started on the show here. And saying thanks to everybody who's joining us live. That's when you joined in here. Let's see, so we got Woods. I was about to say Gunpowder Beauty, but of course, Clover interrupted weirdly. And then Snob. No, Jason. And then Snob. So, welcome, everybody. If I'm missing anybody, let me know. Snob is saying he misses driving out, but it made more sense to fly. I hear you. I feel like I'm flying because I don't have enough money to drive the van, take the dogs and everything, so I'm not driving, and that means I got to go luggage instead of my van. That essentially feels like I'm flying. Let's see. So I'm going to screen share here. I don't think we can see nothing. What are you, an electric car or are you in a regular car?
Me?
Yeah.
That's our car. It's a regular car.
Your car doesn't make any noise. I feel like Clover has an electric car. Who's with me? I don't hear any road noise at all. I think Clover has an electric car. He's trying to hide it.
I'm not. I haven't got out 80-mile-an-hour on the interstate yet. Just wait.
Uh-huh.
And I'm using a cheap, like $20 or something plug-in earbud. So.
All right. Well, we'll find out. But I feel like
I feel like
take some badges from a real car, put them on his electric car, and then he's just going when he drives, make it sound.
Making noises for it. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
could be. I would.
I've heard it. They make a
my only issue. I've said it over and over with an electric car. Like I would not mind an electric car, but they're gonna have to at least double the range on them. Like I live in Texas. You know what I mean? So,
no,
I can't handle like a 200-mile range or 230-mile range. Like that just ain't gonna cut it.
I can handle it. You don't buy a little tiny car for range. You buy a little tiny car to do little tiny things. So I get them. Like if they're
but we don't do our little.
They're not for you. Yeah. But just like they're not for Jeep people either. They're not for a pickup truck. Well, I guess they're trying to make a pickup truck. You know what I mean? For all the people that live in a city that turn on an engine every time they want to go 2 blocks, yeah, go electric. Go nuts. Go electric cars. I mean, everybody acts like it's got to be all or nothing. That's ridiculous. Like, even with regular cars, it's not like one company dominates, and certainly not one type of car. There's little hot rods, and there's little commuter cars, and then the real trucks and the big. Anyhow, we're getting into it. I just am suspect of your quiet car. That's all I'm saying. So now we're getting into. Oh, I'm screen sharing. So I'm screen sharing my Substack. Do you ever use the Substack, or are you still scared to use it?
Well, I'm not able to see your screen. So.
Do you ever use it? I'm saying, do you ever use it for your projects at all?
Not really. Yeah.
Essentially, it's just like a Patreon blog or a blog. It's like you can format it somewhere between Patreon and a WordPress blog. It's a little bit more than Patreon, still not as much as a WordPress blog. So for that reason, I like it because I like being able to bold things and put in things in bullet points. It just makes it easier for me to see what I'm doing when I'm writing my own stuff down.
Right.
And then it puts it in a place that has an analytic. If I really wanted to go into this dashboard, I'm sharing the screen so other people can see it. It'll tell me how many people are looking at my stuff and when my stuff is more popular, like these last ones I posted about SHOT Show guns or whatever. I've got all kinds of views, as you could expect. They're reference material where people might not want to just look at them once and maybe look at it again, but they might bring it up and look at it in front of people or look at it themselves to remember something. It's like got more tendency for people to open it. Plus, there's a lot of stuff listed in there. Pretty much every pistol and rifle and shotgun I could find. Well, not a shotgun, but rifle and revolver that I could find. So there's that concept of being able to check your stats. People can subscribe to it, which is kind of cool. So if you're a Substacker, you can just go over there and subscribe to a bunch of them. And that's essentially what I started doing when I was using it. I got recommended to it by SA. I'm not gonna say her name right. Hinchcliffe, I think. Sharon. She recommended it. She was using it for a campaign in Washington real successfully, and as a way to essentially just reach, extend the reach. It's not like it's like a Mines or a Locals or something, in that respects. It's just another place to put down data. I don't think too many people only use it. In other words, I don't think there's people that just hang out there. All that being said, that's what I'm looking at because it also facilitates this show because you can see it so good. If I could find the one that we're supposed to be on. All right, I got to go back to the main page. And it really doesn't have that hard navigation. There's essentially the page you're in. There's like an index of all your pages. And then there's the dashboard where you can edit them, I guess. We got more people showing up. So say hey to Chicago Mike is out there. And DJ's showing up. And Hillbilly Up is out there. Let's see. Oh, the dad joking each other. I'll ignore all that and let's move on. So you're on the road since early this morning. Did you hear about the big news? Oh, Clover's jumping in and out. He had to go. He knew we were onto him, so he probably stuck his microphone out the window so we'd hear other cars driving by. You've been driving. If you're back, you're back. Yeah. You've been driving. Do you know about the big news today?
The ATF dropping the thing.
Oh, you're breaking up now. What was that?
ATF.
Yeah. So you heard, or you guessing?
I heard.
Okay. It's just breaking up because you're driving or whatever. What was that again?
Not shocked.
What are you saying not shot for? Does anybody know? So you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. Are you just trying not to wake up the wife?
No. Why?
Oh, okay. I don't have like a microphone, so maybe you see if it's just my volume.
Can you not hear me?
Oh, I can hear you. I'm just getting used to it. I'm just so used to your audio being 1,000% that this is
really
like
good. Yeah.
40%. Yeah.
Correct.
So I was asking, where did you hear about the news today then?
Just a YouTube video.
Oh, okay. So you've been listening to stuff and doing stuff. I thought maybe you were just talking with the wife all day and just started tuning into news or whatever. All right. So Clover's aware of it. So if people aren't, there's news today. I got to go get something to drink. So Clover, go ahead and say stuff for a minute. Otherwise, everybody checks amongst yourself. I started the show without getting anything to drink, and it's not working out well. I got to go get something.
Okay. Well, I can do that. I don't know how well it's coming through or anything, but yeah, you talked about the ATF rule and everything. I seen it earlier. Just like anything. I mean, there's 1,000 people that brought videos on it. As soon as something like that goes down, I got the email. I think from FPC from one of them, and then seen some videos. But none of it surprised me. I mean, I don't know that there's a year that I've ever went to shot that something hadn't dropped on Friday. Sometimes it may be major, sometimes it's not, sometimes it's for a state, but it's just something they seem to be aware of and do. Just, I don't know, it's weird.
I don't think it's weird. I think they're either conditioning us or the industry, or they think it's funny, which is possible, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe they're weird and they think it's somehow handy. Like, oh, you know what? They probably needed to do their business. Let's tell them their new rules. Or, you know what I mean? I don't know. So I think there's definitely, you're right, they do it a lot. But you also got people that ain't going to shot and want to talk about something else, and they're going to talk about it. It's also, I don't know, it's not like it hasn't, I guess it's also the idea that they've been, oh, it'll be in December. Oh, it'll be later in December. Oh, no, it'll be sometime in January. Oh, here it is. You know, that sort of element of people have been chomping at the bit for it, I guess.
Right.
DJ saying, totally purposeful. Woods is asking how many braces are out there. And then everybody's saying hey to each other. So, well, I'm not going to turn it into a show about that. So let's get into the meat of it. We take this show and look back at the week on what other people have been doing that's focused on the Second Amendment. And that happened, the pistol brace thing finally being released happened later in the day. A couple of shows I was watching while I was working on things today didn't even know that it was coming down, and a couple of people went live right away to talk about it or literally read some of it. It's I forget now, 100 and something pages. It's pretty long, 190 pages, 160 pages or something. It's a small book when you print it all out. But we have a couple of things happening. There's the NICS, illegal alien NICS situation. I'm not sure where that is. So trying to come out of being asleep and remembering all this stuff. I didn't do this one today. Did that pass? Somebody can mention that or not. Then you've got the HR 38, National Concealed Carry Reciprocity. This is mostly back on the table. You've got state level things. I should have separated these better. State level things that are, I don't want to say being threatened because they're already existing. You got the Washington State assault weapons ban. I guess that's two parts. You've got the Illinois assault weapons ban that went through in a weird way because it was more than one. It existed or was created in more than one, like House bill or Senate bill or whatever, and was eventually signed by the governor, resisted by sheriffs, and well, there's either an active argument going on or there's a perception of some kind of active argument going on. Let's see, then we've got 10 separate bills in Massachusetts from one dude. There's a link to it here. And, is that something that's just wasting time and money? Or is that something that can be deadly? One of the many darts going through. So they've got different strategies that they're using to complain about the decision of the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association, versus the loser Brewer. Let's see, and then there was the race criteria, 100 and something. I guess I just click on this instead of trying to remember. I've got a link to it in the description of the video. 293 pages. Nice. So if you're at the top of the PDF, it'll tell you how many pages it is. 293 pages to offer the criteria for a thing that starting in 2012 existed with the authorization of the ATF's technology branch, who does the criteria in the first place to see if something is covered by the NFA or not. They said it was not. In 2015, we sat around like this in a live conversation, watching the news drop that if you shouldered a brace, and I believe that was out of nowhere. They were just like, "Hey, wait a minute! If you shoulder a brace, that's a machine gun." I'm trying to remember, or was that? Hey, we decided that that might be a machine gun. We're going to tell you in a minute. Either way, the news came down on Friday. I can't remember if it was an anticipated news or if it was a sudden news. I think it might have been sudden though, so I can kind of remember it kind of coming as like we were all offended by it. So that was in 2015. They told us we couldn't shoulder them braces, and that was quite a big deal. We made a patch that year immediately. Friday night, we designed the patch, and I can't remember anymore. I think we got all mad Friday night, and then Saturday morning, while a bunch of people were on their way to SHOT, I went live. Sort of what we're doing right now in Clover here. I was just live on a Saturday morning. A couple of reasons. One, so that when people would check in on their way to SHOT, they could be told about the brace decision. And then because it was fun and new technology, we were only 4 years into live chats back in 2015. It was also just to explore the way that people on their way to SHOT could have something to do and offer or be part of a conversation that a lot of people were part of. It was a lot of times were open discussions with Pink, and totally different color. I don't know how I got you two mixed, but Pink running live chats or Knives, maybe because Knives is green. Anyhow, Knives and Pink would open live chats, and people who were driving would jump into those sometimes or into live shows, and this are being broadcast. And we just have long format discussions about this stuff. So being offended by the executive branch's attempting to, I don't know, define things by their enforcement is not new, and it's frustrating. But like anything, there's a process because we have a system. There's a process to what's the word? To resist it or to what's the word? To challenge it, and it takes a minute. Once it's challenged, it took a little while before they started playing with this stuff again. We've got people in there that are either dumb, they don't remember, they're not supposed to do things this way, or they're just trying to push it. I mean, I guess it's possible, like a kid just doing things over and over. A puppy who keeps pooping in the house all the time, just to keep pushing it, just to keep testing the waters, right? Maybe that's what they're doing. Or something else. I don't know. Anyhow, so we had that drop down again today, and then I have a couple of things from sort of the calendar, at least added that I'm going to be adding to our calendar, our evolving calendar of all the different things that go on. The Connecticut Citizens Defense League is having their 14th annual dinner in Connecticut, of course, in February. It's kind of local, but at the same time, I like to, one, let people know just in case you know people or you're going to be there or you are there. And then just to let people know that these national or the state level organizations are active and they're doing interesting stuff. There's 2 different state level things we'll be talking about today, 2 more state level things we'll be talking about today. Because another state level thing is SHOOTAH, which is SHOOTAH 2023. So this year's, we knew it was coming in May, but we didn't know when. Now we know it's on Armed Forces Day, May 20th of this year. And that's some town south of Salt Lake. Everything in Utah is essentially in Salt Lake or south of it. And it's one of those towns south of Salt Lake. Huh?
Their governor's supposed to be in SHOT too.
Utah? Well, all the governors are at SHOT, I think. There's some kind of governor's meeting. Are you signed up for that?
Yeah.
Evidently, all the governors wanted to talk to me, and I was too busy, so they decided to make like some kind of a governor's meeting where they're just going to bring all the governors together and then ask me to show up. I haven't decided if I'm going to show up though. But I don't know what that's all about. Is it breakfast or something? I don't know. It's not something that, at least in my realms, I don't have nothing to approach a governor with. Be like, hey, governor, why don't you govern better? Something like that. But I know there's people that are into that, and that is kind of neat. I suspect it's something like SHOT Show. What are the governors doing? They're probably talking to major manufacturers who are saying stuff like, "Hey, governors, you know how many jobs I got? You see what happened with Smith and Wesson when they started being big jerk to us in Massachusetts? We booked it over to what, Tennessee or Kentucky? I can't remember.
Right.
Kentucky, I think. No, I can't remember. It might be Tennessee. I know whoever they're building that building, the factory, and remembers. But anyway, so that was SHOOTAH, and then the last one is our Arizona Second Amendment rally. It's our 10th annual one, and they posted one of the promoters of that event is a motorcycle. I don't think they're a gang. I think it was a motorcycle riding group, and but they wear leathers and stuff, so they might be a gang. I don't know. But anyway, they called Arizona or Riders USA. It's called, and evidently, I think Dave did have a motorcycle and rode around with him probably. But they're going to have a parade, a motorcycle parade in remembrance of Dave Kopp, the Arizona Defense League's founding president and the chief lobbyist here in Arizona. So every organization has an individual who is the motivated one, or the one that's got the most skill set, or the one that's got the most availability to be there all the time or to be influential. And Dave was all of those. So really cool guy, and very humble. There's not a lot of interviews with him. I never got any interviews with him. Other people who he didn't know he would do interviews with. They never would do it with us or me. So he might have been on Charles's show, but it wasn't his thing. He liked doing his thing, going to Arizona House of Representatives and Senate, I guess, and keeping him in check and writing interesting. I don't know if he wrote it, but presenting the interesting bills when strategically. And he died not suddenly, but after kind of battling with some health things, and lots of lessons there. Not everyone was, nobody's getting a free ride forever. So that's one thing. Organizations need to be resilient to that. And a lot of organizations are learning that recently. So that's the Arizona 2A rally coming up in February, also on February 18th. Ours is the rally. Connecticut is having a dinner. Our dinner in Arizona is usually October sometime. And then the last of the bullet points, I'll let Clover talk about this. So he has something to say. Shannon Watts is going to be retiring from Mom's Demand Action. She had the graciousness and the charm to let us know ahead of time that she's going to be stepping down so that we can make accommodations on our end and deal with it in our own ways. $36 million grassroots organization. What do you think about Shannon Watts stepping down from Mom's Demand?
I think that that has to happen with an organization like that at some point, because the quote-unquote leader of that organization will become discredited so much that they need to replace it with somebody new that we can spend years and years and years discrediting that person.
You mean discrediting because he's an exploiter who only shows up on the scene to do things with the victims or the people left behind and ignores completely everything? Or like in her personal life, she's just a horrible person? Or like she's in that play even though she's
I don't know that.
Okay.
I don't know that she's a horrible person. But
well, because I know that there was, I don't like, most of my life doesn't revolve around Shannon. But there was one article, if I remember it, I think it was Shan, how she had some kind of a communist propaganda poster in her kitchen. And she had some sort of like interview with Better Homes and Gardens or whatever, because her home is better and her garden is better. So they were going to put her in like Better Homes and Gardens, and they did the picture of her and her family or something in the kitchen like you would do. And then in the background, there's some kind of like communist posters like prominently displayed in her kitchen. And everybody was like, what's up with this, Shan? And it was like a communist collecting wheat in sort of a propaganda style poster, from the olden days. I don't know. So she probably goes around being weird because she, rich people that don't care about nothing. They often
Sure.
just go around not caring about nothing and being
Don't
weird.
pay any attention. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I thought maybe it was something like that. Like Wood says, give her villainy someplace else. So that's why I thought maybe she was just going around being a villain. She was like kicking puppies somewhere. This puppy got kicked by her probably. I'm not saying I've seen her kick this puppy, but I know that if you throw a boot at this puppy, he flinches in such a way that you think maybe Shannon Watts was picking him. I don't know. I hope that's not slander. Um, she'll sue me. She's probably like that. All right, we're getting into the week. I put these essentially in the order of how much Second Amendmentness there is in them, how effective they're going to be for what we're doing, that kind of thing. Oh snap! That was late. Sorry, I got a real life thing going on. So I try to put things in order of like how much use they are. Oh, I guess I'm not even screen sharing. How much they're going to move the, move the Overton window. Is that what I say? Move the ball. I don't know the sports thing. All right. So first thing is almost always Brooke Cheney's project on Saturday, where she focuses on suicide prevention, mental health awareness, does brief live videos. In this case, a recorded live type of event, so you still had the live structure, but the event itself was pre-recorded. She also did something different this week, maybe because the first of the year or whatever, with doing it on both Saturday and Sunday. Right? Yeah, Saturday and Sunday, which actually worked out for me because for whatever reason I think I was doing something on Saturday and got to listen to it again on Sunday. Let's see. So again, awareness and offering uh, bits for communication, practical hints and suggestions and coaching, and just ways to approach uh, the evolution of the conversation, both with people on our side, gun owners, and people who hate our property and our rights and stuff. You can have more effective communications when people who try to use suicides as violent gun deaths uh, understand that. And there's lots of different ways to uh, approach that or attempt that. And you can throw your hands up and say, somebody else will have to get through to this person. Or you can consider it a challenge, just like if you go, I can't shoot a revolver, can't shoot a shotgun, moving targets, even though everybody else can do it, I can't do it. Or do you just keep buying another box of shotgun shells and keep practicing? Go talk to somebody else and listen to what they say about it. And then eventually you get to where, you're beyond just shooting them, and now you're doing things to challenge yourself when you shoot them. So if you can get to where we get some people who are interested in talking to people on the other side, then we get people who become better at talking to people on the other side. We do have people talking on the other side to people on the other side, but they're kind of already adjacent to the other side, if that makes sense. And if I'm allowed to say that, it's probably going to offend them. But that's the problem, is they get offended by weird things that I'm not used to, at least. I don't know. Clover, am I the only one who's in their exploration of I'm gonna just call them anti-rights folks, the people that hate our property and our right to own property, and they just end it right there. They don't appreciate or accept any nuance to that. Like, you're either pro guns and violence or you're against all guns, right? Like those kind of people, and you're trying to explore, reach into them. Have you experienced any roadblocks or weird places, or has it been anticipated? Or I'll quit ghosting.
A lot of those the people, the all or nothing people, that's, and even Moss talks about this a lot. The all or nothing people are on either side, the 10% or so on either side. So, the people we need to be talking to, reaching out to, is in the middle. I mean, those that are solidified all or nothing, and that's their stance. It's their feet are cemented into the concrete. Like, you're you're wasting your time. You could be talking to those 80% in the middle and actually moving the needle or moving the window. Why mess with those that are set in, you know?
Okay, I kind of ghosted you there, but like when you're reaching out, and I'm thinking of like specifically, even though they're on the Pacific, the Liberal Gun Club or the Liberal Gun Owners, those two organizations, because they're easy to pick on because they got liberal in their name. And then all the adjacent organizations that are either new or woke that are doing a way better job of reaching to the people you just described. Those people, because that 80% are, some of them are leaning towards that side and some of them are leaning towards our side, right? Like they're still in the middle, but you know what I mean? They're on that other side. So the people that are unapproachable, that's a different conversation. But the people that are doing the most to get to that, to get across, to get through to those people, because they're not us. I mean, we can say whatever we want and we could try to say it nicely, but to get through to them, you got these other organizations. So I guess the question was, when you're talking to people who are on our side but are reaching across like that, are you the only one that, or am I the only one that sees just some weird stuff? I don't want to say it's like hiccups or bumps on the road, even.
Well,
It's just
what's problematic, right?
Culture clashes, maybe.
Am I coming through?
Yeah, I'm just over talking you. Go ahead.
So the problem I see, the elephant in the room, whether you're talking liberal gun club to an extent, the whole pink pistols, blazing sword, a few others, they tend to subscribe to this Democrat. Let's be apolitical with the Second Amendment, blah 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 blah. And I get that sentiment, and I agree that the Second Amendment does not need to be political, right? It certainly doesn't need to have a party affiliation. That being said, the honest truth of the matter is Democrats, by and large, are the ones voting, at least voting the draconian gun control, like the assault weapons ban we see in Illinois, right? That was all ramrodded through with basically Democrats. So, there's an element of hypocrisy there when they're trying to educate their side. They say, hey, we want to be liberals, we want to be Democrats, but we also want to be pro-2A. And it's you don't know, or shift your vote, or you find other candidates to rally behind in primaries. You know what I mean?
Hold on. I think you got to do the car thing where you pause, because I think you're hitting cell signal towers or something. So you said they want to be, and then it kind of got garbled after that. So, like they want to be involved or whatever, I think is what you said, and then they want to be. I was just say, just pause every bit, because I think that's what cars need when you're driving, is just to.
Maybe. Yeah. I've got no way to watch when it's dark.
Yeah,
I've got no way to watch signals. So.
You got the phone just holding it, or you got it in some kind of a thing, like a car holder?
No, it's actually sitting on my knee or whatever.
I have I found a thing at the thrift store that's like essentially a dummy cup. It fits in your cup holder, and then you crank on this knob, and it sends spikes out in all directions. Well, in 3 directions. So it expands, it grows into the cup holder that it's in. And it's super strong, right? That part of it is super strong. I like it. And then it's got the robot kind of, like Bender off of Futurama. It's got like his arm, one of them kind of flexible arms, and then place for your cell phone. And the cell phone, the thing fits my giant cell phone in its case. So I'm stoked, but we're not taking my van, so useless. But anyway, yeah. Normally I'm doing the same thing.
Like that.
That's the phone. I'm scared to buy those things because they're always in a package, and I don't think they're any good, and they're flimsy or whatever. But this thing was just at a thrift store, and it was like $2 or something. So I'm like, well, I'm holding it, and it seems super strong, so I'm buying it. And yeah, it turned out to be super strong. Anyhow, I'm about to sneeze. Dog did not like getting sneezed right in his face, but that's what's going to happen when you sit right in front of my face. You're going to get sneezed right in your face. 545 is out there. Good afternoon. Good evening. First off, I should probably not first off anymore, 40 minutes in, but I'm going to say thanks. I'm waking up now. Thanks to the couple of folks who purchased stuff at the store today, literally 2 people. And thank you very much for that. It was a nice order. I put a bunch of extra stuff in there, and very cool to get that on the way out to SHOT Show. Thank you again. I don't know if you're listening, but thank you for ordering. 545 is jumping in. G23 is out there. Oh, he's saying he watched the 3.5-hour training video from Walk the Talk America. Did you know about that? Have you already watched it? And are you going to watch it while you're driving? So, did you hear me? The Walk the Talk America did a 3.5-hour training video.
Yeah.
Have you seen it already?
No, I did not hear it.
Are you going to watch that while you're driving? Listen to it while you're driving?
Yeah. So watch something while I drive.
That seems like the kind of a good time to get 3.5 hours of that. I saw that it was posted, but I watched maybe 5 seconds of it and then turned it off. So ruined their watch time, I'm sure. Yeah, I got something else planned while I'm driving, so I'm not going to be listening to it. But that would be something that would be, depending on your flight or depending on your drive time, that's something that could be timed well for people who are traveling right now. So G23 watched it. Huh?
Is it conducive to audio?
I don't know. The beginning of it is Jake sitting there on a couch saying stuff, so that was fine, but I'm sure it's 3.5 hours long. It's probably got some pictures or something, right? I don't know if there's video in there. I mean, I don't know, but I'm sure there's more than just Jake sitting there. But even if there was something amazing, you could listen to it and then know to go back 2 hours in and watch the amazing part or whatever, right? So then Woods is saying only 4% of violent crimes are committed by people with diagnosable mental disease issues. Claim they made today can't confirm. What does that mean? Claim they made today. Wonder who they is. Because he was talking about taking a class for mental health first aid. So he's an elementary school situation, and mental health first aid, I'm guessing, is different, unless it's like a mental health first aid for everybody class, and little kids are involved in part of it. Like when you take CPR and stuff, you can take CPR for little things, right? You take separate CPR for babies and little people. They have different physiology or whatever, anatomy. So you're gonna hurt them if you do regular CPR on them. So I'm thinking that there must be something different for little kid mental health first aid, but I have no idea. Anyhow, I'm not sure if that's what he's talking about when he saw the or when he mentioned the 4% part, or when he's talking about they. Was that your car door? You're stopping again?
Of the day?
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah. This car has all kinds of like warnings.
Is there a lot of traffic out there where you're driving?
Sensors and things.
Is there anybody else? Okay. There's probably a bunch of trucks. There's almost always trucks out there.
Yeah.
Seems like they're always dragging products to stores and making life convenient for everybody.
I've cursed many a trucker since 9 o'clock this morning.
Let's see. Then Wood says, when I was a kid, liberal was more don't trust the man. Government is corruption. Well, I know that was the perception of it for sure. I don't know what they were like. When we were kids, they must have actually been selling out right then, right when we were kids. Because what we're thinking of, what
Yeah.
he's thinking of, is like before us, so the '60s or something.
Yeah, the hippies became the man. It's fun.
Yeah, so I think when we were being born, they sold out. They're like, shit, we can't run this scam no more. Let's just sell out and start ruining it for them. So right when we were born, they started ruining it, or deciding to start
Well,
ruining
a lot of what I've seen with the hippies becoming the man is they grew up, they got families, they realized they needed a job, they figured out earning money and I want to keep my money and all of that thing. And so, but what's funny is you'll see old hippies, they'll go out and they'll make their mark and they got tons of money and houses on the lake and all that. And then they'll revert back to in their retirement stage the down with the man hippie phase, like don't let anybody else succeed. They made their mark, but now they want to allow people to go do theirs. It's sad.
it. Yeah, I don't disagree. There's probably some social level diagnosis or something that, I don't pay attention to people if they are doing it. Maybe that would be that one smart guy that everybody listens to all the time, and he says stuff and they all quote it. One of those kind of people might dig into that at some point and come up with a reason or some kind of insight from that. But I agree with you there. That seems to be sort of the. I mean, I think the motive. I don't disagree. I disagree. I think on the motivation, or at least there's more motivations in there, because there's probably a bit of like, screw the man. Oh, wait a minute. This is how you make money. Oh yeah, screw the man. Like they just double. I don't know what they call that. Like they
Well, it's like
disconnect.
they put it on hold. That's what they do, honestly.
Yeah, they disconnect, make a shit ton of money in doing the system, and then hate the system again. Like at least that's what it appears to from the outside. And I'm
And
sure there's,
they usually complain how they gained the system, gained the system.
yeah. Look
Make
what I did. Look
right.
at how this
Yeah,
puppy made money. You shouldn't
we
be able
can't
to
do
make money with
this,
a
right?
puppy like I did. Like making money off this puppy. Yeah.
Right.
Come on, make me money, puppy. Come on. He's not doing it. Now liberal means trust only the government. Big brother will protect you. And that's probably the Overton window where they were like, as a group, we like being called liberals. We like that the other side, the conservatives, hate us. Right? They like calling us liberals, so we're gonna keep, even though no matter what we are, what we do, we're just gonna keep dragging. Just like if he would have dragged the blankets over. We're just gonna keep the term liberal, no matter. Well, I guess I shouldn't throw the microphone out of the air. No matter what we're actually doing, we'll just keep the label and then let the label's definition change with us. And I don't know if that was intentional or not. I guess it's communism if it was intentional, and it's just being a dipshit if it wasn't communism, right? If it wasn't intentional, then you're an idiot. And if it was intentional, then that's communism trying to rip down freedom. Or,
Well,
some
the labels
nuance,
are all
but
stupid.
essentially. What do you mean?
Well, it's just labels don't account for nuance.
What will you mean, like liberal or conservative? You mean?
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
like if I'm okay with the whole LGBTQ thing, but maybe I'm not okay with the kindergarten teacher who's teaching it. Maybe I'm okay as far as conservatism goes, but I also believe in charity, right? Like there's nuance to all of that. So how do you apply a fair label to it? I don't think you can.
And then there's people that'll like, I don't know if this is exactly what you're saying, but as you said that, I thought there's people that will say, "Oh yeah, I'm a liberal," and then there's the same kind of person. Well, then different person, but the same kind of person maybe will say, "Oh no, don't call me that. So everybody's got their own perception of it too, and what they champion and what they shun.
Right.
So if that was you that ordered, I'm not good at keeping things together, but yeah, thank you very much for that. Much appreciated. Then G23 is saying you can listen to it if you don't have to watch it. All right, you can listen to it. You don't have to watch it. Every slideshow is discussed. Very easy to listen to. So I guess if you're interested, you've got a 3.5-hour Walk the Talk America presentation that they did as a free course. I guess I think is what they called it. Did you see that it was posted?
No.
Oh, okay.
I've heard about it, but I mean, that's 16. Dude, I've been on the road since then.
Yeah, I don't remember when it got posted. I've been asleep for a good chunk of hours there.
Yeah, I don't know.
So I'm weird. At least it feels weird to me that I'm awake now in the middle of the night. So I'm not driving, so I guess I can do whatever I want. Then he's saying that it was for under 12. Wait, K to 12. What is that? Less than high school. Yeah, I thought he says it posted yesterday. Clover wasn't paying attention. All right, so getting back from the comments there, back to this is a long show because we're chatting, I guess. Getting back to the week, like I mentioned, there's a couple of state level organizations that did some things this week. The Virginia Citizens Defense League does their lobby day, their big yearly event, the same week as SHOT Show almost always, unless SHOT Show kind of fluctuates. And that's because that's when their state legislature does their thing, and they march on the state capitol and do a very well organized show. What a rally is for, to show solidarity and the number of people dedicated to the issues. And while Virginia isn't all or nothing, it's one of those states where the effort on both sides is consistent or constant, maybe both words. And Virginia Citizens Defense League is a big part of that. I always champion them. They're the ones that started our Arizona Citizens Defense League. Because they existed, people moved from Virginia to Arizona and said, there should be one of those here. And they sort of emulated it almost exactly when they started it back in 2001 here in Arizona. So anyway, they do their online town halls, and they were effectively organizing, getting ready at the team leader level for the lobby day, which is coming up. And they'll have more organizational meetings. They do a great job, one of the best jobs of using the internet to do their state level meetings transparently and effectively, so that instead of just shooting the shit, which they do a little bit, very little bit, they're effectively having a really productive meeting in a way that everybody can be on board. Like everybody can not be on board, but be on the right page, right? Like they facilitate the many people doing something, getting to the state capitol. They do buses and shuttles. Like they just really know what they're doing. So it's a pleasure to watch and be part of the conversation when they're getting that stuff going. Now you got the Nebraska Firearms Owners Association that had a town hall meeting online or live also. This week they had one of their senators on, Tom Brewer, and I guess that's the guy who's presenting their constitutional carry bill this year. So Nebraska, Louisiana, and Florida, and am I thinking of another one? There's a couple of 3 or 4 states that were almost constitutional carry last year and just didn't quite keep up with Texas and the others. So, they were 2 years ago, I guess. But anyway, they had a pretty good conversation about that. And when you can bring a representative on, then one, it's an opportunity to have live conversation with a representative, which is unique and interesting, but it's also a way to get familiar with the way representatives even operate and stuff, being able to see them in a live environment versus a scripted presentation environment, which is most of what people get. So, speaking of having a non scripted conversation or interaction with the government, the American Suppressor Association, uh, had a suppressor industry rally in DC, which is effectively some kind of industry up training or industry roundtable. So you got representatives from all kinds of different suppressor companies going to ATF and sitting down with them. I'm pretty sure Crump is in this room. That's Crump sitting there. So there's some press there. I'm wondering if that Steve guy from the Reload was in there or not. This is just a short video. What's your opinions of the American Suppressor Association? Have we talked about them before?
Super high.
Would you say sugar pie?
So they're not high.
Not sure if I understood that one. They're not something, but it sounds like you said they're not lying. That doesn't make sense.
Ask the question again.
Oh, I was just asking, what's your opinion, or if you have any, of the American Suppressor Association?
6 out of 10. Better.
Okay. Yeah, now I got you. I think what it is if you'd have a short answer, maybe the mic is just not picking it up or something. Maybe that's what it was. Where I was just getting a chunk of the end, I think. All right, so then you get this whole thing about the illegal alien NICS alert. What do you think about that thing? Have you been paying attention to that at all?
Read it.
I'm assuming this is this concept that, because just from the propaganda against it, that this is some delusion that the 4473s, if only they could catch the cartels, like if only the legal whatever it is would, if only the 4473 could help catch those people who are in this country illegally. So the gall or the whatever the word is, like the incompetence, the delusion, whatever it is, that you would even come up with such bullshit. And I think it's an indication of their fraying arms. Go ahead. Oh, were you talking to us?
Yeah, they, on one hand, they say how it's horrible that the illegal aliens won't call for police help, right? Because they're afraid that they're going to be deported. But then on the same hand, they think that they're going to go buy a gun and fill out paperwork.
Right. It's I can't think of the word for that one either, but it's playing both hands. Yeah. Oh, people can't get an ID or whatever, but anybody can get an ID. Like, wait, what? When you need it, it's no problem. When it's something you don't want, it's a complete block for everyone. All right, so can't think of this one if it went through or not, but I think it did for some reason. We'll let people update us on the live part of this. There's not that many people watching tonight for some reason, so I don't know if that's just because of the production value, which is not good here. So I can't imagine people were expecting higher production value, or if it's just the lateness, or if it's just something else going on this weekend. I guess for some reason it's difficult to get people who aren't here to tell us why they're not here. But if somebody's got some insight, let me know. Then we've got KD had Mahjong, and then Devin. So did you watch this one by any chance?
No.
This one's interesting because Maj doesn't do YouTube very often. If he does, it's like some kind of presentation that's being presented on YouTube or something, but he's doing something and then somebody's got a camera. But Maj doesn't typically do stuff on YouTube, and if he does, it's pretty awkward. And he doesn't do it very often, and he's not super comfortable doing it because he doesn't do it very often. And it's not the same as one of these things that he does, right? So Woods' hands because it's Friday the 13th. I didn't think about that. Is it a full moon out there? It's pretty full
No.
like that. Oh no. It's actually been pretty dark, but it's been a full moon, so I think it's just a late full moon or whatever that's called when it comes up late at night.
That could be too.
I don't know. I just go out a lot because there's some little animal here that needs to pee constantly. Um, I just thought it was interesting because KD and Devin do stuff once in a while, not all that often. And then I don't know if I've ever seen Maj do something specifically with Devin. So anyway, it's just interesting to watch them. And they were talking about some rap shit that I don't even know what the story was, but something instigated it. It was called "The Streets and Rap Culture: Lessons Learned from," and then they name a bunch of people. I guess I don't know who they are. So something happened with somebody, and they were kind of doing a conversation about it, but they barely talked about that. Luckily, because I don't know what they were talking about anyway. I don't know the situation or whatever, but they just had a pretty interesting conversation, and uh, mainly I'm watching KD's development with using YouTube, getting more not comfortable, but like figuring out what he wants his style to be. So he's playing around with his what do you call it, like studio or the way he's gonna have his layout. Have you watched any of his live stuff in
Yeah.
I don't know maybe the last few months? What do you think of his deal? What do you think? Go ahead and give him some critique or some advice or
Um,
some mansplaining.
he's thinking about it.
Oh yeah, he's putting a lot of effort into it, and he's not just thinking about it. He's like he's doing it. And I mean, I don't know if he's spending a ton of money. I've seen people that spend a ton of money and not even accomplish anything. So he's getting things accomplished. I can't tell if he's doing it with a lot of effort or not. He's not putting a lot of. He's not talking about it. But anyway, I agree with you. He's accomplished a good layout or a good set. I mean, I'm interrupting. Go ahead. What do you think of it?
Oh, you're fine. Trying to use short words.
Are you gonna be talking to KD at all? Is he one of the people that you put on your radar to talk to, like a must talk to kind of thing, or like if you see him, you say hi, or I guess
Yeah.
not gonna.
I have to see him. I say hi. If there's something come up, he needs to get the word out. We need to work on something. We will.
Let's see. Then we've got this kind of short. I guess I'll try playing it. It's from Canada. They can't get. There's no way they can sue anybody. They just apologize if you play their video. So this is a video from. I don't know who Sheila Gunn Reed is, but she has Gunn in her name, so I don't know who she is. But listen to this video.
So who exactly did Justin Trudeau consult with before he snuck in a last-minute amendment to turn an already terrible law, which scapegoats the law-abiding while making it easier to be a bad guy, into some Frankenstein monster of a law that tramples on property rights and throws Canadian heritage right into the garbage? Somebody joked on Twitter once, and I wish I could remember who it was because I would love to give them credit. But imagine if a space alien who had never met a human being or had never seen a car was suddenly writing the rules of the road. That's how it feels to be a firearms owner in Canada. It's like people who have never used a firearm or who have never jumped through all the hoops to own a firearm or ever even examined the existing firearms laws or even had a basic passing familiarity with ballistics were writing the firearms laws, or at least they're the people being consulted on the laws.
Kind of a little bit long, but what it's like to be a Canadian gun owner. So anyway, they're getting wailed on, and we got a bunch of people in our country getting wailed on, so it's easy to overlook our friends and neighbors to the north. So I figured I'd put that one in there just to remember.
And when you're looking to seize control, you don't care about the details. It's not something.
Say that last part again.
So when you're looking to seize control, you're not concerned about the details.
Oh yeah, exactly. And there's probably some strategy there, like Now we're just going to make it illegal with this broad brush, and like you say, who cares how refined or fine that is? Trudeau should have to ask Bob before making the laws. Then we'd see some crazy laws regarding beer. I'm trying to find something that I misplaced over here. So the next thing in the list is your thing you got going with Ghost over there, and when that concluded on, was that last Friday? Yeah, I think it was last Friday before,
Yep.
or was it Saturday? I can't remember anymore. Anyway, want to take a second and chat about that? Or how did it go?
Well, I mean, we didn't meet the goal, but we did better than we have on the previous ones. If that came through or not. Let's see.
Oh, I'm doing this all as muted, so that's real good. Did any of that come through?
I didn't hear anything. I thought I had lost signal. So.
I've been sitting here like, oh, I guess he's busy. So like, what about this? And then, oh, I guess he's busy. Okay, what about this? And I'm like, all right. So, going back to the thing that you just say you didn't meet the goal, was that by like almost or by a long shot?
And we had 200 stickers, so that was the goal, right? But we did 164, I think. So
All right, well, it's better than a kick in the ass, but yeah, it's not the whole.
Previous times we've done something similar, we've only had 100 tickets. I mean, 100 stickers.
So then I went down to, well, so you were basically more ambitious and it didn't grow, but it was more than it had been. So it grew, it just didn't grow as much as you were anticipating. So then I was saying that Hillbilly Up took over for Chris on Wednesday. Did you happen to catch any of that show?
Yeah.
So that was actually pretty fun. So he asked me to jump on, and he had asked me to do a logo for him a while ago. And I was like, oh, that's a good opportunity to work with Ghost because he likes doing logos all the time. And I do logos, but I know I'm my style. Ghost has his style, so it'd be an interesting way to have a conversation about logos or something, right? We just haven't been able to figure it out because essentially shot, right? Getting ready for it. But anyway, so he had this takeover so that he could host a show for Chris. and he brought on, I don't know everybody, I only knew a couple of people on the chat, and but it was awesome. And then he asked a set of questions. What's your recommendation for a carry gun in a home defense? Right? So, gun question. Then, what's your favorite drink, alcoholic, non alcoholic? So, kind of just chatting. And then, oh snap, what was the last one? Oh, what do you like to do to just kick back and have some fun? Like, what do you do as a recreational activity kind of thing? And that set of questions took an hour for the panel to go through. And it was just a fun, somewhere between people getting to know each other and just having a good conversation, you know, like as opposed to like a political or I like this grip angle or that caliber, and you know, you shouldn't, whatever your gun, you have to buy accessories for it, and, you know, that kind of conversation. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Oh, Hillbilly's still out there. Yeah, that was great, man. It was a lot of fun. I don't know if you got the question ideas from some other show or nothing. I hadn't heard anybody do that set. And then the, you know, what do you do for kicking back type of question? I think that one got a lot of coverage on that. Like, it went a long way. Maybe it's the group you had on too. Good group of people who are interested in chatting. I'm a big fan of that. I mean, there's different ways to use live. There's different ways to, I don't want to say like drive alive, you know, like you can kind of be quick and let's get it over with, or let's get through this. Like, you know, there's the different, I don't know what to say other than ways to do it, you know, ways to host, I guess, ways to be the person who's hosting it, I guess. But anyway, so yeah, it was a real comfortable chat. He said he just made it up. Yeah, it was great. Let's see. So then we got to the mouse party, and that was the same day. So normally Chris does his show on Wednesdays. We do the show and then handed it over to the mouse party. Another good conversation. Hopefully we'll continue to see those continue on. And speaking of continuing on, Locked and Loaded came back. Have you ever watch Locked and Loaded shows or anything? I think I've seen you in there a couple of times, but I don't know how regularly you watch it. You know, they moved to a different part of Florida. Florida's a peninsula, and they moved from one section of the peninsula to some other section of the peninsula. I don't keep track of where all these different places are, but evidently it's a big deal when you move from one part of the peninsula to another part. So they moved and then took, like, I don't know, half a month off or a month off. They're definitely still doing their channel and digging it. You've seen how they are affiliated with a gaming network or a gaming channel, at least, which I think is essentially a network. A bunch of different channels collaborating on a big channel, I think. You know, the games are kind of different than guns. I guess not that different, but they're different in the respect that people are going to have their games that they play and then who they play them with. Some of these games are like more than one player. So I guess they're, you know, if they're going to play 6 different games and they're going to pair up and have different people that like the different games, and then I don't know if there's teams or whatever, they just play together or whatever, but you know, they're going to play together, and then I guess I could see how that's a channel. It just blows me away how many people are paying attention to video games in so many different ways, though. So it's interesting when I watch that show just to get, you know, that, I don't know, that brief exposure to the gun or to the game community. I think of it as sort of like the people that are doing the liberal gun club and the liberal gun owners. It's like, oh, that's interesting. I'm just not spending my time playing video games. You know, I'm not gonna, you know, I'm down. I'm okay with it. It's just that it's not, I'm not eager to experience spending an hour playing a video game. It doesn't sound like, I think I would be more stressed out after an hour playing a video game than any kind of relaxation from it, unless I was getting like paid to dissect it or do something, you know, like somehow consult on the video game. Then I could do it, I guess. But just for recreation, I just don't see. I don't. It's not my thing. But speaking of that, Shepherd Arms. Are you familiar with Shepherd Arms, Wisconsin?
Maybe,
But
but no.
it's Argo J is the manager of that shop.
Okay.
So it started up, I want to say about a year ago, I think, and ish, and a new nouveau, I say like one of the newer breeds of gun shops. It's a nice shop. It's in Wisconsin, so it's got a unique situation to some extent, being north of Illinois and Chicago area, and then Wisconsin, which is a lot of hunters and a lot of, I'll just call them FUDs. So I'm just going to go ahead and say it. FUDs eat cheese, and cheese comes from Wisconsin, so it's going to happen. So having a shop there, it's got to be a unique situation. And then I'm going to just say younger, even though I don't know, Argo's not necessarily a kid or nothing, but, they're like a more modern shop, a more youthful type of store. What do you call it? It's more than just the layout of the shop, like the style or the direction of the shop, I guess, is more modern guns, modern trends and styles. I don't know how many of the things in there Clover's gonna like. But then they're doing a video game tournament, and I believe it was sort of the old school bring your computers, or we're going to have a bunch of computers here at the location, and then you showed up and you sat in front of a station at a network game tournament type of thing. Like I never really
LAN
did.
party.
Yeah, LAN party, except at the shop. Yeah, or a LAN party at the shop. Yeah. We did those, but we were nerds, so we would do them to try different types of networking, different types of Apple sharing and shit, just to push different computers together to say we did that. So that was our video games back in the very late '90s, I guess. So that was interesting. I ended up seeing it a bunch of times because it was a kind of show where they didn't really care about the show too much, the watch time or any of the production values. So they went live, and I think it seemed like an hour every couple of hours. I would check in on it, and either it was live in spurts, and I just kept checking it when it was dead air, or they just went live and had dead air until they actually started doing something. Either case, it was happening, and I'm okay with that. Live is live. People are going to do them the different ways, but the concept is neat, and you can always go back and chop out with the editors all the dead air that's in there, so that you get just the good stuff, for the final video once it's all over.
Yeah.
Anyway, I thought that was cool having a not just playing video games, and not just playing video games as gun people with video game people, but inviting video game people to your shop and having gun people who are video gamers cross those streams or whatever. I don't know. I didn't watch it or nothing, but I posted it in here because it's cool to see it. Now, I'm just paying attention because I liked Argo J from back in the old days. I know him, so I've been following the shop and stuff. But have you seen any other shops doing anything like essentially a LAN party or some sort of version of video gaming?
Not even video. Video games.
Let's see. So then, next up is this the next one? Yeah, the next one is Rogue. Now I didn't watch this one, but Rogue Banshee does his videos at for me 4 to 6 a.m. So for you, it's probably more like 8 in the morning. What do you think of doing a pre-recorded podcast at that time slot? Have you talked to him about that at all, or what is your opinions on it?
I don't like the idea, but you're talking about on the YouTube side of things versus the audio podcast side of things. It's two different animals, and on the audio side, it really doesn't matter. But
Sorry, I keep stepping away. I keep looking for my knife. I don't know where the hell, you know what I'm saying? Like, because it's my knife. If I packed it, okay. But if I didn't, then where the heck did I set it down? I'm trying to remember what I might have cut open or poked into or pried. Yeah, sorry, I'm super distracted. You ever set your knife down someplace so you don't know where it's at? I didn't watch this one. So he's got Angry Sarge on there. And I've seen Angry Sarge on Chris's show and I think a couple other places now. And anyway, so I included it just so we could chat about him. But and he also, his show is not very long. So you're saying he's doing it for audio, and that's just when he decides to throw it
I
down.
don't
on
know
YouTube?
that. I don't-
Oh, okay. I'm assuming though, because that would make sense. Nobody's saying he's going to start. He's thinking about doing a show on Saturday. So my advice or my mansplaining when he said doing a Saturday show was, I think one of the reasons there's not Saturday shows, there's not like a permanent Saturday show, really, is because of the Saturday, right? People are out doing stuff. It's the kids are doing stuff, so you're going to be doing stuff because of that, or it's date night or something. People are just out doing stuff because it's Saturday, or you're traveling like you're doing, and it's just you're not at home on a Saturday. So because of that, you're going to end up with fewer people that can change plans to be there. You get the people who happen to be there, and I guess it was your motivation. But anyway, I just threw that out. That I think one of the reasons there's not a permanent Saturday show is because it's tough to have a consistent audience on a Saturday show. And I can't honestly remember. I don't think he said he cared too much about that. But when you're starting the show, I guess you can't anticipate how big a factor that is. So anyway, I'll let you learn on that. I'm gonna keep looking for my knife.
Well, I mean, recording live on YouTube on Saturday is one thing. Doing it in such a way that it's conducive for audio and putting it in the audio podcast world is something totally different. So, if you had a multi-dynamic approach like that, it would be a lot better. I don't understand. I don't understand how or why. Maybe people just don't know. Maybe they think it's difficult. I don't know. I don't know how anybody goes live on YouTube and they don't consider putting all that in the audio podcast. It makes no sense to me. You're missing out on so much.
He gets up and looks at me whenever I walk away. Then we get to Aegis. Well, a video for Aegis from Chris. I guess he probably won something. I didn't watch this one, but he's doing a mail call. But I'm assuming he won something, and Aegis is a company that either, I guess some people they work with and give them free kits, but I know a lot of people will just offer a free Aegis kit and then go over and grab one and just have it sent to people. And I know from being on the winning end of that or the receiving end of that, that they send them quick, and it's cool. Good stuff.
I sent one out yesterday. Or I let him know we needed to send one out. Or two out, actually.
So he'll be saying, thank you for the advice. I appreciate it. I'll check into the audio podcast. Let's see. So next we're getting into the radio shows. One of the reasons I like putting it over on Substack. I can put these heading markers in here, which are larger, and so you can kind of tell when we're getting into a new section of the summary. So there's a couple of different radio shows that I listen to. I'm a big fan of the different ways that people get our Second Amendment messages out there, right? So there's the internet. I'm a big fan of the internet. It's interactive, and we can have ultimate control over it in a lot of ways. So it's super cool. then there's the print. For a long time, probably the 2014 era, I was all against print media. I thought the internet was going to take over and we were strong and we were going to do it. But guess what? We're not. We didn't. So print media certainly has a place still. And there's lots of different interesting ways there. I've been enjoying more and more of that as I look at it with fresh eyes. And then the podcasting, the audio, the radio shows, and that kind of thing are another chunk of it. And they're not dead. The radio shows offer uh, reach that is unique. Like nobody can be in a waiting room or a elevator or a Uber driver's radio. There's just so many places that radio is going to get out there and reach people. That's super interesting, and also taken for granted. I think a lot of people don't appreciate what radio's got to offer. So anyway, because of that, and I'm also partial to it because Charles Heller here in Tucson has been on radio for a long time, consistently. He's persistent at it and a champion of its virtues, understanding it's not universal. Not everyone has a radio, but there are certainly ways that radio can be or is super effective. It has remained super effective since it was invented. So anyhow, with that being said, a couple of radio shows are focused on guns. Now there's more than this, but these are the ones that I like because they're people who are also Second Amendment focused and doing interesting things. Because anybody can be Second Amendment focused and just repeat what's already been said, or get all upset every time the instruction is to be upset. So people that are paying more attention or doing their own thing are more interesting to me, and a couple of them are this ones we're going to talk about. So Come and Talk It is a gun shop out of Austin, Texas, that does a radio show each Sunday, and a guy called Yoder Texas had started posting that on gun channels, the community, back in the day, like a long time ago, 2015 or 16, or maybe it was earlier than that. And Mr. Knives would host Sunday rooms like what we've got going on here, except publicly open to anybody who wanted to jump in. And the community would kind of self-moderate the room so that nothing inappropriate happened to hurt Mr. Knight's channel. And then one of the things that people did, or Yoder Texas would do, is drop the link to the audio version of the Come and Talk It radio show. And a bunch of us would just play it and listen to it, as part of our Sunday afternoon routine. So for me, I've got a lot of tasks that I do on a computer. I don't know about Clover, but everybody's got their things they got to do. Sometimes you can just be near a computer and have it turned on and be listening to it. But I would just schedule some of my computer tasks for when these shows are on, and that's what I do now on Sundays. Is I just have some boring stuff I got to do on a computer, so I'm going to do it. I might as well do it when there's something interesting and there's a bunch of people participating, and that's what it evolved into. These radio shows happen for the radio, and they get either recorded or broadcast straight out to the radio. And while they're happening, they stream over to YouTube, or at least some of them do. And the ones that are really paying attention and having fun with it all, they stream to YouTube. And they all started out kind of being aware of the YouTube discussion, and I'm pretty fun to say it's been pretty fun to see that all of them have taken the YouTube live chat more and more into consideration. Now they're not all using it as part of their show, but they all have, and the last holdout has been doing it more and more. So the shows that really dig into the YouTube comments, you're part of those shows. It's a lot of fun. So it's cool seeing people show up and become part of the communities that these shows are fostering, I guess, as they record weekly on their scheduled times. So anyway, all that being said, there's some history to these radio shows. They're a lot of fun to listen to. And this particular one, Come and Talk It, out of Texas, has a host who owns the shop called Michael Cargill. And sometime last year, I think, he decided that the bump stock decision, where it required him to forfeit his bump stock to the state of Texas or destroy it himself, was wrong. That it was taking money or taking his thing without giving him money compensation. Sorry, I had a sneezing fit. So he took Texas to court, and this last week, his Fifth Circuit Court decision came through. It's interesting that the initial review of the case was 3 judges that said unanimously, all 3 judges said, there's no case here. You can't sue the state of Texas for this. And then it was brought up to all the judges. I don't know how many judges you have in this Fifth Circuit. I'm guessing 12 or 15 or some number. And when it was voted on at the circuit level, I don't know if you heard this part of it, every single judge voted for Michael except for those 3. So the 3 that originally were the unanimous decision, no, this shall not pass. And he's like, let me get a second opinion on this. Every other court or judge ruled for Michael and said, no, this will pass. This is good to go. You can't control bump stocks. So what we ended up with is the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals of the Supreme Court of the U.S. Court. Period. I think that's how you describe it. The Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals said that in Texas, I think Louisiana and whatever other state, you can. That's BS. That you can't. The ATF or whoever, the executive branch at least, can't say universally that bump stocks are now machine guns. That's the purview of the legislature, the people who write laws. So you can have whatever opinion you want. The law is something else. You'll enforce the law and not what you feel like. So pretty awesome decision. I don't know, that one you've had more time to cook on. I'm assuming you knew about Michael and all that, but
Yeah.
anything there? Want to riff on that at all?
Not so much. I mean, it's gonna be interesting to see what happens moving forward with trying to get consistency or congruency or whatever.
It was cool listening to the show this week because this was the first time he had a chance to talk about it. Of course, pat himself on the back or get the accolades from people who are saying thanks and that kind of stuff for following through. Because a lot of people told him he's crazy, especially when the first 3 judges unanimously told him, "No, you can't. This is not going to pass." A lot of people said, "Oh, you're wasting your time," or blah blah blah. Well, here he goes, and he just took it all the way through. And he's not representing anybody; he's representing himself. And maybe you could say he's trying to get some promotion for his shop or his show. Oh no, a capitalist trying to be better capitalist. But in reality, he brought an important conflict between 2 district courts now, whatever they're called, district courts, and that's more incentive for the Supreme Court to either do something or not, and either decision from the Supreme Court will have consequences and precedent, from what I understand. So, in other words, if the Supreme Court takes the case, and that means that they're probably going to rule on it, and if they rule on it, since they're taking it, they're probably going to rule in the favor of everything else constitutionally. If they don't take it, that's like saying, well, we don't agree with it. So a lot of times that's taken, I think at least that's assumed that, okay, if they're not taking it, then they weren't going to vote on it. I don't know how but I think that people read into when they could take something and decide not to. They read that as, anyway, they'll read that into that. So anyway, so it's just interesting watching them talk about that. And then I'll shut up here. Did you were about to say something?
It's a little more complicated than that. Sometimes they don't take it because it hasn't been handled the proper way for them to take it. Sometimes there still things that need to be worked out in lower courts before they can take it.
Yeah, like if the details don't match or if it's not going to align just correctly. I don't know if that's the case here, because it sounds like from at least the initial people's reaction that this is the perfect storm. Like now they have to decide on bump stocks or not, or maybe even the NFA. But that could be somebody who's either over optimistic or just not looking at the whole details.
Yeah, I was going to say the armed attorneys had some good stuff. That.
Oh, I figured out where it could be. I was making little dude his own little badge holder. You see, I made this little dude a badge holder. I'm trying to do a project every day, sort of like what you're doing with the card channel, just to do something different than videos all the time. So I make videos of doing different things. So I made little dude his own badge holder for SHOT since he can't go. And now I think I took everything into that room, and that's what happened. So he's going to put on his badge holder, and we can go back to split screen, and I can quit stressing out. Because if you lose your knife, you're thinking, where was I today? Like, where did I leave my knife? And I was over getting paid to eat at Five Guys today. So I would have hated to have lost my knife at a Five Guys. Because I don't think I would have got it back, All right, so that being said, let's move on to the next radio show. Oh, no, we're not moving on. So going back to Michael Cargill and Come and Talk It. First off, thanks again for the big win. I see that as just neat. I don't care if it's sure thing. I don't care if it's a long shot. I like efforts towards getting rid of the NFA, challenging the NFA, awareness of why the NFA is lame. I just like all of that stuff. But so I'm listening to the show, and these happen on kind of content all at the same time. So it's not the easiest part of the week to listen to anything unless you only like one of them. Then it's easy. But there's 2 or 3 shows that all happen at the same time, and I like all of them. So I attempt to listen to all of them, which means I end up, I'm also trying to do my own work. So I end up listening to one and then switching and listening to the other one and then switching and listening to the other one. So it's sort of, I get bounced around between each of their commercials or whatever. Anyhow, listening to the Come and Talk It radio, because it's a big special, it's a big show and it's a special event or a special whatever. I got hiccups. He brought on a bunch of different people, some kind of trigger people, and I think 2 different kind of trigger people, but I'm not sure. It might have been another. So there's different ways that different places have been attacked by the ATF through their change in regulation or change of interpretation of enforcement, or however you want to describe attempting to get mad at things that one minute were fine and the next minute they're mad at them and taking punitive measures against. So he had a couple of people on, and it turns out they're all from Austin. So it was just interesting. I think it was a stock and then a trigger, and then they were talking about a third person or something. So interesting conversation, and one I may go back, depending on how it goes in the car tomorrow. I may go back and listen to that one in full, because whenever you get impromptu conversations amongst like gun shop owners, or I should say like gun manufacturers, all kinds of interesting little history tidbits fall out of there just because they're talking to each other. Like, oh, we started the factory in this year, or we called it that model because of this. And if it's not an interview where people are writing all that down, sometimes those little kernels just get kind of thrown out there. And I'm a big fan of that kind of stuff. So I want to hear that if it was that kind of conversation. Are you kicking some kind of speaker box or something? What's going on over there now?
Probably those bumps on the road.
Holy moly. You're still in New Mexico?
Coming to Gallup.
Right. Look at a map. So next after, so that was another part of the that was another part of Come and Talk It that was interesting, is they were talking to different manufacturers that were kind of all potentially going to be affected by this whatever happens from the 5th court's decision. Then we get Cape Gunworks, big fan of them. They've got their 2A Tuesday segment of the Grace Curley show, and they do that on Tuesdays. And then also the radio show or now the podcast on Wednesdays. And another fun chat. A lot of people show up for that one, and there's the developing community there. That's one of the things I like about the online communities is, well, I don't like it. One of the factors of an online community is that they come and go, they grow, and they at some end, and not always, but usually they got some kind of lifespan. So any kind of lifespan, the beginning of the growth of is an element, and it's been pretty interesting watching the Cape Gunworks group of people join the chat, come back as regulars, and have their perspectives and points of views. And a big factor of something like that is the host and how the host goes with that. Like if they're comfortable, or if they've got some kind of agenda, or if they're, just distracted and all that. And Toby does a great job of being aware of what's going on and having some direction to go, but he doesn't have like an ultimate agenda that he's always circling back to or always like reminding people of. So it's been a cool way to develop a community, and the community that's developed is really well-rounded, I guess. It's kind of focused on Massachusetts, which would make sense. The shop and the radio show are hosted there, but pretty decent. I mean, he's pretty aware of different elements of shooting and been around for a while. So anyway, hosts a pretty good show. So next up, we've got Tony, and I posted this one. I don't post enough of Tony stuff. I take them for granted. Same with you. We chat every Saturday, so I don't probably post enough for y'all stuff. But this one is the self-defense gun stories, but this is a short talking about self-defense gun stories. So do you got anything about that? Do you ever listen to the Tony's or any of the shows that are about like that kind of thing? Like here's some footage. What did they do? What could have been done? That kind of thing.
Yeah, I watched some of that. They were down there.
I guess another way to describe it is like the police blotter, like kind of being aware of your finger on the pulse by being aware of the how people are treating each other. Is that the way to say it? How much would you relate? Now I pick on self-defense gun stories. That is, I can't think of his name. That is dude from Florida, right? It's not Paul. Look at him every week, but I can't think of his name right now. But anyway, it's the guy who hosts the show, and then he brings Tony in as one of the co-hosts or whatever. So I'm not picking on their show because there's tons of them that basically look at security camera footage or dash cam footage or something, somebody holding a camera of usually the last couple of moments of some kind of issue, and then somebody falls down or somebody gets hurt or something happens, and then they dissect it as kind of after action coaching. I don't know if coaching is the right word, but in general, or did I just ask this question? I guess maybe I'll be even more open. What do you think of that kind of stuff? She's there. Is your wife asleep or is she awake?
No, I mean, I don't mind that stuff if it's used in like proper context and like talking about things, but there are certain people that utilize stuff like that that annoys the Jesus out of me. So it's kind of depends on how it's done.
All right, a lot of dead air. So I did, in fact, go find everything. It was in there next to my sewing machine. So whenever I get up, the dog gets up to see where I'm going, and then he stands on the mouse pad, which means I can't unmute. So there's a lot of dead air. So I think one way I guess I'm saying is there's like the coaching, like, hey, here's what could have been done. And then there's the like, I'm going to call it the exploitive, like fear factor, like, oh, be scared of this, or like you better carry because of this, or I wouldn't even go to that part of town, or any of that kind of bullshit. And
wow, look at this, right? Reaction.
Yeah. Oh, that I didn't even think about. But like like, oh, what? And then there's the giggle bullshit. Like, ha 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 ha. That's messed up.
Oh,
I mean, I guess I can understand a child, but you know what I'm saying. Let's see. Sean is jumping in saying, I'm not a big fan of the alphabets letters. You can understand that. Then 54 hours to on that shot. Okay, right on. Not familiar with the name, so I'm just not sure what you're with. If you feel like letting us know, let us know. Otherwise, there's a lot of people that shot, so totally understand being stoked. Let's see. Hillbilly saying, "Oh, I didn't even see this before." Hillbilly saying, "I have to jump off. I'm on Travis's Caliber Corner in the morning. Have a great night." So I never remembered to talk about Travis's thing. He's consistently on Saturday mornings. Was that your blinker? You're getting off the highway again? This guy doesn't even drive for more than an hour and 45 minutes. Oh, Pink asked before,
Yeah,
is Amanthea asleep or is she awake listening to all this?
Don't know. I'm not. I haven't. I don't know. She's not listening to you. I can tell you that much.
She's only listening to half, you mean? Yeah, I hear you. But you mean she might be listening to a phone or something, like listening to something else. Let's see. So Sean is saying a home.
I got earbuds in.
Yeah. Sean is saying a home FFL from Northern Arizona. Very cool. Right on. That's awesome. So hopefully you have a good show.
But no, I'm kind of.
Go ahead.
Oh, you're fine.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say I've got to assess my fuel because I don't know if I've got fuel to make it from here to Flagstaff. So that's when I pulled off.
Good idea. Yeah, I would definitely do that. There's some places potentially for gas, but they're not going to be cheap or friendly or the best places for gas.
Right. Exactly. So.
All right. Well, now I'm getting into the military interviews. So that was some of the radio show stuff, and I missed the Gun Owners Radio out of California. Always a good show. And then the Eye on the Target with Amanda Suffolk-Cool and her brother. And I didn't listen to that one on Sunday for whatever reason. I was either doing something or listening. I think I was just listening to Michael's more. I think they're on at the same time. Let's see. So then we get to the military ones, and man, there's some good ones this week. So all of the military interview shows are amazing. I can't chat them up enough. Like you don't even have to be interested. It's not like I guess they're technically war stories, but all the adjacent stuff is what really fills in the gaps, and it's just so interesting to with the focus or the pivot on the military interview, but then just to hear facets of the world that's ties the world together. There's people that are doing stuff all over the world. Of course, they have family and ties here to the United States. So these stories about their adventures end up illuminating so many aspects of so many things. Super interesting to listen to. They're long format, so if you've got some, like I said, I've got a lot of tasks and stuff that I'm always doing. So having something that I can listen to, there's not much to look at. Once in a while, they'll laugh at each other, or, I don't know, reference a tattoo or something. But for the most part, they're podcasts, audio type of stuff. So they're very conducive to just getting stuff done. And if they're your style at all, I think you really enjoy any of these that I talk about. So the team house is a Ranger and a Green Beret who are the hosts, and they offer some awareness and like insight. So when they talk to people, they can ask good questions. They've got a good like friendship or whatever themselves, so they act as a good team for interviews, and then they also have access to great interviewers, like, or interviewees, the people at the interview. So they're on episode 184, and they've been doing 2 interviews a week lately, one on Tuesday nights and then on Friday evenings. So this last week on the Tuesday one is Pat McNamara, is an interesting dude and a character. So, I mean, there's probably some overlap with other interviews. Pat's done a lot of interviews. Pat's not a introvert in any way, but the way that the different interviewers, the different shows bring out the different aspects or the different facets or whatever of their experiences is a big part of it. So anyway, that's one definitely worth checking out. It's a fun one. Then Combat Story is a different type of interview show. It's very similar but different, and it is a guy who was an Apache helicopter pilot for a long time, supporting people on the ground and being a Army air. But then after that, became a CIA, worked for the CIA doing stuff. So again, has an interesting experience, and then started doing this podcast where he interviews people about their combat stories, but in essence about their lives pivoting around their combat experiences. And this interview is with a Green Beret from, a Green Beret who, when he retired, started doing a couple of different projects, and one of those was was instigated with the withdrawal from Afghanistan, and the interpreters and the people who are working with our units over there, and the ordeal of bringing folks home from or to the United States from those places where they were essentially being hunted. That's a big portion of his story, but then he's also had some other experiences over his career and his lifetime that inspired him to create a play, a short, small play about the experience of a Green Beret called Last Out. And hold on, coughing fit again. So interesting. I've heard the story of Last Out a few times. I've heard the story of the Pineapple Express, which was the code word so that they could get the interpreters and people out of Afghanistan during the withdrawal. And this was another great interview talking about the play and the origins of the play. I learned about a play called Tracers that was the inspiration for Last Out. And Last Out attempts to offer people who'd be interested a perspective of the soldiers' experience in modern war, or modern theaters of war, and the nuance and the levels there. And the play was inspired by a play called Tracers that was created by Gary Sinise and somebody else back in the olden days after Vietnam. And so after listening to this interview, the Scott Mann, the guy that he interviewed, was on the other radio show not too long ago. So I had heard this story a couple of times, and I hadn't heard about that Tracers before. So I went on YouTube, and you can find it. I guess I should have linked to it, but you can find it just Tracers, like tracer round Tracers, and it's a play. So it's a little artsy, but holy crap, it's going to get you right in the feels. I mean, I guess a robot could watch it and just interpret data from it, but if you're a human and you watch it, you're going to understand how it could inspire a modern warrior to create a similar effort for again, people that are dealing with the different but similar experiences in the global war on terror. Super cool interviews, and not just all. There's a lot of action in these things too. These results, these consequences come from intense action, intense experiences. All right, so we'll keep going. Next week at Team House, again, like I said, and put them in good order, but Team House did an end of the year wrap up, which was pretty awesome, actually. I encourage people, if you're interested in honing your channel or getting your channel tighter, check this out. It was a lot of fun, but it was in reality a really good structure for going back and monitoring your channel. So they, the co-hosts, right, had just done another year. I think this was their third year of podcasting. And their tradition is to go back at the beginning, end of the year like this and take a look back at their shows. And they literally just went through each show and recollected. And it was a great way to remember everything, to summarize it, and to get that extra layer of insight, especially after the year ended. You know, they could put everything in perspective with what they learned throughout the year. So really neat, really cool way of going back. It was pretty long. I think they might have gotten drunk in the middle of it. So, you know, you gotta maybe somewhere when it starts getting sloppy, you're probably less going to learn less from it, and unless you enjoy their the way they are. But you know, that being said, it's an interesting insight to their operation and a way to share and to look back and to archive a year. So really neat. And as a content creator, I think there's something to that too, to go back. Let's say somebody starts, you do a year's worth of stuff and somebody comes in and looks at your stuff in August or in, you know, sometime towards the end of the year. They might not necessarily know what they missed or your real goals for the channel. They might experience some of that from seeing what you're creating, but I really like the idea of like intentionally going back and focusing on what you've accomplished. Also, probably good exercise just so that you value what you're putting out there and you realize the amount of volume you're putting out there, not just loudness, but quantity. People that do live put out way more hours of stuff than a lot of people appreciate or realize. All right, we've got a prep list, a list of places or things, I guess, that you're going to want to check out at SHOT Show potentially. Whoops, that's not it. That's the factoring criteria for pistol braces. This is the list of all the different guns that we could come up with. Gizzard dropped a couple today from Taurus with his Taurus connection. He knew about a couple of new ones that aren't yet on the list. I believe they're both revolvers. But and I can't say it's the all-inclusive list, but in one strategy of going to SHOT Show is to go see what's available. Another strategy is to have some idea of what's out there, and that's what I'm trying to do. Just a quick list of the things that are new. If I create this list and I update the list a few times and I do a show or two talking about the list, that's enough for me to know, oh, if I walk past SAR USA, they got something new. Or if I go past H&K, they do have something new. And what is it again? Oh yeah, it's the 22 pistol. It looks like an MP5. Or I guess it technically is an MP5 if H&K is making it. It's just in 22. And it's a pistol. But either way, this allows me to have it all written down. And since it's on Substack, I guess technically, even when I'm at the show, if I forget or something, I can just go to my own Substack and get the reminder. So if you are familiar with something that's not on my list, let me know, and I can potentially add it to the list. And I'm getting pretty full of 9mm, so if it's a 9mm, there might be some debate as to whether it's getting added to the list. But even then, feel free to suggest it. But certainly, I know I'm missing. Oh snap! I forgot the name of it now. The ammo company out of Nebraska. Gauge or something. I'll remember it when I put it in here. But there's the that was recommended an ammo company out of Nebraska to check out. Why can't I think of the name? Anyway, I'll think of it when I'm not trying to think of it. And then I think the two revolvers from Gizzard, I guess technically from Taurus, and this will be as up to date as I can make it. So feel free again if you're aware of something I'm missing, just let me know, and we'll eventually add it to the list there. Oh, let's think again. No, it wasn't Hornady. It was a company that makes the machines. It was either Gauge or Mage or. Dang it, they showed me the box too. But it's the company that makes the machines that make ammunition. Because if you don't know, Hornady exists because the government used to make ammunition in Nebraska, and when they quit, like for World War II or something, and when they quit, Hornady bought all the equipment. So Hornady just dragged all the equipment from like World War II ammo production and retooled it. And, instead of making fine wire for some kind of an electrical system, they needed a very hair thin wire. They just turned that into a 9mm bullet machine. Or if they were making 45 ACPs, they just turned that into like, I don't know, 38 ACP or whatever. Started cooking it off. Oracle Arms 2311. Let me go look. It doesn't sound familiar, but there's a whole bunch of 2311. So let me go see which 2311s I got on. I have I do have an Oracle Arms 2311. Where for some reason I thought there was a couple of other 2311s. There's a Gerson Witness 2311. And maybe that's all of them. But, they're trying to mess with us. The thing is, I only got pictures where I could hork a picture straight from a website. I don't like to hork pictures from other creators. So evidently I couldn't find the Oracle Arms website, or if they could, they didn't have a good picture on it. So let me go try again. Here's one from Soldier Systems. Eric probably won't care if I grab the picture. So that's what it looks like. Oh yeah, he won't care if I grab this one. So I'll grab this one. And I'll call it an Oracle. There it is. And then edit this. I don't know. I think I have to go to the top here and click on the little thingy to click edit. Here we go. Scroll back down. Do a shift enter. Click on this little thing, add image. There it is. Let's edit it first though, so that it's nowhere near that big. He needed this white space around it for his formatting. He's been doing that blog for a long time. It's a very simple setup. So if you create the image in a certain size, it'll actually help you out in some ways. I am going to do the same except in a different way. So I'll just save that differently and then upload it. And then now we have this picture for Oracle Arms. Looks pretty good. I'm not the biggest fan of forward serrations, and putting forward serrations on forward front cuts is a thing to do. Kind of looks like Battlestar Galactica or something. I guess I understand the high front sight because of the optic in the back. The rear sight is in front of the optic. I guess I understand that. Let's see. I don't get this part, the grip. I understand people like having things, but to me that just not my style. I don't know if that's the grip or the frame. Looks like it's for competition or something, I'm assuming. Of course, there's a light on it, so I don't know why that's on there if it's for competition. Otherwise, it looks like a 1911 styled thing with like a lot of CZ in there. It's like, let's make a 1911, but let's put a lot of CZ spices on it. It's like an everything bagel with CZ all over it, but technically it's still a bagel. I get it. I don't know where they're going to be, so I don't know if you know where they're going to be or what, but I'm guessing downstairs somewhere. Sometimes things like this will be in another booth, though, so that's hard to know. I'm going to hit update, but that got me to grab that one picture. I guess I was about to say thanks to whoever might have grabbed some bayonets. I know a couple of people were live when we were watching the bayonets get sold. That essentially is what paid for putting these dogs in jail. So this dog and the other dog aren't wanted in Vegas. Could not afford to get a hotel that had dog friendly, and had to put shots into this dog, had to put a robot chip into him, and then now they're going to cost me $500. Well, the way I get $500 is sell 2 or 3 bayonets for $100 and something, sell a taser for $100 something, and then sell the rest of the bayonets for like $50 something, and then sell those bayonet parts for $20. You add all that together, and that will eventually pay for this dog and the other dog to go to jail for a week while the rest of us are enjoying SHOT Show. So appreciate that. Like I say, that wouldn't have happened. I would not be going if these bayonets didn't sell. So thanks to Pot of Gold Auctions and the people that purchased them. I'm not sure when I'll be doing that again, but potentially stay tuned for more of that. I was out doing stuff, minding my own business, so to speak, and I found this video. So this is a little dated. It's 2 years old, 3 years old, whatever. But this explains our Shooter's Almanac project from back in 2019.
Hello, I'd like to introduce you to our Shooter's Almanac, the next way to know our firearms community events and explore our Second Amendment history. Our shared values as gun owners have always brought us together, once only at gun shops and gun shows, but now online. Unfortunately, the persistent need to defend our positions and our property has also united us. Our goal with gun websites since 2004 has been to share our Second Amendment community and gun culture with everyone. Originally with websites and forums, sharing photos and later videos, Gun Websites has participated and shared on most social platforms. We've participated in live conversations, created communities, and encouraged others to join two-way awareness, the conversation, and this new media. After 15 years of watching trends, experiencing waves of attack, and seeing our fellow two-way advocates' motivation rise and fall, it's apparent that apathy might be the worst adversary for our Second Amendment. No one will ever take our second, but the lack of will in supporting the freedom that it protects are always a risk. So, the Shooter's Almanac is designed to do something new for 2A in a different way. It's created to inspire, inform, and motivate a new interest in firearms events and gun history. Now, 2020, after 3 years of preparation and development, the Almanac will bring awareness to our Second Amendment history and credit those whose shoulders we stand on today. The Almanac offers daily, weekly, and monthly inspiration and direction. There's no advertising in the Almanac. Instead, we focus on organizations, individuals, museums, gun shows, and other elements of our gun community. We aim to offer a well-rounded, timeless experience for the dedicated longtime gun owner and the novice. If you're creating gun content, if you participate in two-way conversations, if you attempt to open people's minds about guns, you will find something of value in the Shooter's Almanac. That's our challenge. Our crowdfunding campaign runs just 21 days. It'll end on the anniversary of the shootout at the OK Corral. We'll publish the Almanac in order for it to be available at the rally in Washington, D.C. on November 2nd. Join the team. Grab a copy for yourself. Grab a few to gift. Let your local gun shops know that they can buy a stack of them. We've included a place on the flat back where they can mark the books with their store info. Be part of the creation of our newest project with live workshops and conversations throughout the campaign. Thank you for being part of bringing the two-way projects to life.
So that was effectively the crowdfunding video or whatever, like for Kickstarter or whatever. Let's see. Then we had Shooting Gallery New England had a live chat earlier this week, and during it, somebody gifted a bunch of memberships. You're allowed to do that. It's legal. So you can have a membership on YouTube. You're effectively subscribing to the channel with financially. For our channel, it's like a cup of coffee, a couple of bucks a month, and YouTube takes a cut, but the rest of it goes to help pay our bills. So we really appreciate that. So on Shooting Gallery New England's channel, we're all just sitting there minding our business, watching the show, and somebody comes along, this ADXR 920 person, gifted a whole bunch of memberships. So I'm greedy, and I'm like, when am I getting my free membership? And I didn't get my free membership. So I was like, well, I'm offended, right? And I feel like I should have a free membership. So I started looking into it, and it turns out there's a procedure. There's a certain set of things you need to do in order to enable getting a free membership. And YouTube doesn't allow giant channels to get free memberships for some reason, and that's why I was never able to get a free membership. So I went to one of my littler channels and figured out how to get a free membership. You essentially go to your channel that isn't a giant channel, and when you're on a live chat, you could do it right now. Click on membership down at the bottom where you would normally send a super chat or join the channel. And when you click on that, another pop-up window shows up. Before it does anything, it just gives you a bunch of selections on that big pop-up window. On that pop-up window, there's these 3 dots at the top right. If you're on a regular computer, I guess. And when you click on those 3 dots, you're going to get an option there. And one of those options is enable gift membership. All right, so you're going to click on that, right? Not everybody has it. People on phones are hobbled. They've intentionally given themselves fewer options by using a method, a device, an operating system that doesn't have the same interfaces as the real internet. So it's not the same on every platform, but if you're on a computer, you can use the step-by-steps that I essentially just laid out here to give yourself the best bang for the buck. So now you're able to accept a free gift membership. But then the second part of it, there's 2 parts to everything that has 2 parts. The second part of it is you have to do stuff on the channel. You have to be the one who chats the most. Who would be the one who chats the most today? Probably DJ. Look at how many links he's dropping. He's also just saying stuff. Woods is also saying stuff. Pink didn't say that much stuff. Sean is saying stuff, but not as much stuff through the whole show. So maybe Woods, maybe DJ, probably DJ, would definitely get a free thing if a bunch of people were in the running. So anyway, that's what I figured out is I went to my little channels and I enabled free gifting or whatever, accepting gifts. And then I just started saying stuff back and forth and saying things, and people were adding me. And then before long, poof, I had a free membership. And so in other words, the free memberships are given automatically as long as you meet the criteria of having it enabled, accepting them, and then doing stuff in the chat. You can't just sit there and get a free membership. You just have to do stuff. So if you're interested in getting a free membership, next time somebody offers them and you see that they're just laying there, nobody's picking them up, it's probably because the people that are most active don't have it enabled, so they'll never pick them up. And the people that are enabled aren't saying anything. So all you got to do is make sure you're enabled, and that's for each channel. It's not like you just enable yourself, period. You enable yourself for each channel. Not for each show, but for each channel, I think. Whoa, puppy's having eye spasms. Hold on. Let's see if I can get this on video. Do it again. Have your eye spasms. Is it because I was moving my hands? I think it's because of his dreams. He's having some kind of a puppy dream, and he was having crazy eye spasms, like if he was watching a laser light show. He's biting something right now. Oh, am I waking him up? He's eating something. His tongue is out, and he keeps making noises. He's more than just regular snoring. He's having some kind of adventure right now. See his arm moving? Did you see his arm move? His face is moving. He's having some kind of conversation with whatever adventure he's having. He might be in space. It's hard to say. Sometimes he's in space, and other times he's underwater. I know he has a submarine in part of these adventures. It's a tiny little submarine. I think it was invented for monkeys, but he somehow got it. Let's just say that he acquired this monkey submarine, and he drives around in it underwater. But then half the time he's in space. Let's see. So where were we at? I was trying to figure out who might have got the free gift memberships, if in fact there was free gift memberships tonight. I think we've established that it's DJ. He's back to regular sleeping now. Run-of-the-mill, regular puppy sleeping. We don't have to, we can have to monitor. Wait, hold on. As soon as I said that, he started having eye spasms again. See him? Can you see him doing it? His mouth's moving all over and his ears going crazy. You can see little motions here. Is he a Chinese robot underneath of all this? I don't know. Look, I'm poking him. He doesn't wake up. Is he a Chinese robot accepting his programming? We all seen iRobot. They get their programming from the airwaves. Maybe he's like a Terminator. All of his little servos and mechanisms freak out when he gets his updates. Maybe this isn't a tongue. Maybe it's a little antenna that he sticks out to get his updates. What kind of dog would let me touch his tongue like this and stay sleeping? I think it's a Chinese robot. Is this an antenna? Maybe I should have never left this thing hanging out. I'm going to turn it into a cinnamon bun. Cram it back in there. It won't let me go this way. Look, now he's listening to something in his dreams. His eyes are open. It's a pretty big adventure he's having right now. He might be running somewhere. All right, so we're going back to the thing. He's done having his eye spasms. A lot of other overnight chats that focus on Second Amendment and gun community won't have puppies in them because they've been given the advice not to put dogs on their gun content because it's distracting and it doesn't get taken seriously. So, not going to experience that on the other chats. A lot of chats refuse to have dog co-hosts, I guess. All right, I guess that's the end of the show. So then you get a quick link to Gun Show Reviews, where we post our SHOT Show reviews, NRA show reviews. I've never been to anything else like CCA or whatever, but I have been to cooler places than all of that. And let's see if we can just zap this over here. I don't know if Clover's coming back or not, so I'm just kind of rambling here for a bit. So Gun Show Reviews, I forget when we put this up. Let's just say a long, long time ago. And as it says right here, America's best gun shows. For a very brief time, we had gun show calendars. People that are doing the gun show calendars, right? Like they're doing it full time, so I'm not trying to compete with their business. Let them do their thing. So instead, what we do is review the shows that we've attended, the shows that we've been to. In addition, I try to, I don't want to say archive, but alert to the different things that might be happening that are adjacent to gun shows. So in other words, firearms events, right? So again, the major gun shows, SHOT Show, which is an industry event, but often conflated with a gun show, the NRA annual meetings, and distracting events, which are often the focus when it's actually the annual meetings. All the people that hate the NRA, the membership organization of 5 million members, probably don't go to the NRA annual meetings and try to affect change. Some people have. Then we've got the Small Arms Review Show that happens out here in Arizona since 2000, I think, and amazing show. I've been as often as I can. Wanamaker, the largest gun show in the country. Clover hates talking about Wanamaker, so he would hate to come back on here talking about Wanamaker, I'm sure. Gun Rights Policy Conference, I've been going to that since 2015, and that's what got me to start being more aware of our Second Amendment community. They are not able to, they're not interested or able, competent, or of the skill set to champion themselves. They just don't have it in them. They're not interested in it. They don't do it. So, number of years watching them be mopey and not do it, and then a couple of years of listening to them bitch about that they're not successful. Then a bunch of years of unsuccessfully encouraging them to be successful because it's super easy. Yeah, that's the Gun Rights Policy Conference in a nutshell. Then you got other gun shows. Let's say lesser gun shows, but the rest of the gun shows that are out there. Because I'm going to do it, I put the yearly 2A events in here. I also attempted to put some yearly shooting events over here. So competition shooting, that kind of thing. At least the championships, right? At least that was the goal. And then the firearms industry events. SHOT Show is the big one, but there's industry events or similar trade shows for each branch of the military has their own. There's ones for well, there used to be some for like bullpups, so like areas of interest or certain types of firearms or guns, community segments of the community. But now we see other ones that are regional. Sometimes they're, I don't know, like a group of companies, so maybe focused on the reach of the promoter or something like that, or maybe again regional. Something like TriggerCon. It's hard to describe. It's another firearms industry event, but is it strictly a media event? No. Is it a peer-to-peer? Not really. Is it an opportunity for end users to see products straight from manufacturers? I guess kind of. And then, of course, the hybrid events that are mixes of different realms, right? And then the hunting events. That's a tough one, but there are meetups from the organizations. Most species have their own national level organization, and then some species like deer are going to have even more, and then some realms of hunting either have fractions or just it's too many people to all be in one organization for whatever reasons. I don't know all the dynamics, but there's quite a few organizations that either represent hunters or segments of hunting or regions again. And then there's events, and some of those will be championships or like end of the year rallies. Some of them will be banquets and things. So there's some different events that have a focus on hunting. Oh, and then I suppose there's probably some interaction with the stupid government, the people that either regulate or enforce different things with either the species themselves, the regulation of the species, and that the monitoring of that, or the habitat. Both of those are the realm of government and government entities. So trying to at least put a sample of that stuff out there. 545 is taken off. I understand that. I don't know if I should be sleeping right now or if I should be awake because I'm not driving tomorrow and it's freaking me out. I'm used to driving. I'm not used to being a passenger. And I don't know if I can sleep in the vehicle while it's daytime, but I may have to because if I'm stay awake all night, I'll be sleeping tomorrow. I'm not sure if Clover's coming back. At this point, I'm guessing he ain't coming back. So I'm assuming he's doing okay driving. He might be at a point where they stop for food. I don't know. He doesn't tell me when he's eating food. And then he might be at a point where he doesn't have internet. That would be in New Mexico because Arizona's so good that we have internet everywhere. But New Mexico both sucks and blows, so it's possible for them to not have internet. Anyway, so that's a little bit about Gun Show Reviews, this website that we have attempted to post our coverage of the different events that we've attended, as well as schedules and insight to some of these other things. So, for example, here's a list of the major gun shows that happen throughout the country: in Tulsa, in Las Vegas, in Phoenix, in Pennsylvania, in Virginia, in Florida, and in Massachusetts. And then some information about the promoters of those events. This was the results of research for the Minuteman University project. But if Minuteman University encompasses all, when there's areas of the industry that are related to another website, we'll take those pieces of research or those presentations or whatever you want to call them, and we'll apply that to whatever website it makes sense, so that we're not overwhelming these websites, but so that they're useful. So if somebody's coming over here to get gun show reviews, the hunting events, it's kind of, it's at the bottom of the menu. It's not like we're putting that at the top, but it is kind of a slice, and somebody may be over here to look for more than just gun shows. Maybe they're looking for like other industry things or other gun things. So that's what we're attempting to do over here. So we have that calendar, which I'm curious to see what we even got over there right now. So this was the last time it looks like I attempted to do any kind of a calendar. It was in 2017. As soon as I see this, now that I remember this was when we were attempting to drive around. We were driving around in 2017, but attempting to hit as many gun shows as possible. So in order to start tracking them and charting them, I put a list of them here on our website just so that I have them conveniently, but they came from all those other websites I talked about. I was doing my research on the real websites. I just put my notes over here on my website, I guess. Now, these are gun show promoters that are reviews of gun shows that we've attended. So gun shows in Indiana, Las Vegas, Phoenix. We didn't go to this one, Edge did, but Texas. And then, well, they go all over the place in here. Oh, these go way back. These are 2010, 2009. If you go before 2009, they're not even videos anymore. Then you get into actual just blog posts from back in the old days. Again, there's some promoters, information about the different promoters of those different shows. And then I think we also have some stuff in here like etiquette and tradition and stuff like that for somebody who might not have someone to get advice from or to hang out at a gun show with. So over the years, either sparked by conversations or instigated by someone requesting it, we'll add a page here or there to offer stuff like that. Like, hey, it's best etiquette not to go up and just start fiddling with somebody's gun. Those kind of tips and tricks. So we put a link to that at the end of today's stuff. We have a lot of websites out there. We're gun websites because of websites. Websites are awesome. They give us presence on the internet, stuff that we own. They're essentially property online. And they can be easy to find. They can be out of the way. You can be intentionally hidden. You can be attempt. You can't necessarily create popularity or giant presence on the internet, but you can certainly reach for it. You can certainly create projects that are designed to grow and get big and be found. And that's a lot of fun. So doing stuff on the internet is the ultimate. Doing stuff on the social platforms is there to enhance your own internet presence. So consider doing that. I don't know how many people listening this far into the show are going to be contemplating it, but one of the reasons we put links like that down at the bottom is just to spread the word about them, but to give us an opportunity to focus on it like this. All right, I think I'm giving up on Clover. I don't think he needs us anymore, but I got one other project I was thinking about doing before I call it quits, and I'll do that off air. Say thanks to everybody who might still be out there. According to the electronic narc who tells me how many people are out there, there's a bunch of people out there. That's one of the reasons I'll keep rambling. If there's a bunch of people out there. When it goes from like, a dozen people to 3, then I'm figuring most people booked out of there. But when it hovers between 700 and 1,000 people listening, I suspect that there's probably people wanting to hear what we're saying. So if you're not one of the 700 to 1,000 people that join us live on Friday nights, and you're listening to this in the future, that's legal. You're allowed to do that. Nobody's going to shame you for it. But keep in mind, if you felt like joining the 700 to 1,000 people that join us live on Friday nights and be part of that epic conversation, it's basically a party. It's like the internet version of a massive party in Vegas where there's no rules and everybody's happy. It's amazing. So if you don't want to be part of that, you don't have to be. There's no obligation. But if you want to be, so I'm just saying it's free. It's available. The people that partake in it all become wealthier. I mean, they're certainly all healthier, and they're just kind people. And I'm not saying it's a result of hanging out in the live chats as much as the consequence of hanging out with that kind of people. Pink's out there packing. Let's see. With that, I think we'll wrap it up. I might. I don't know if you want to drop a link and just leave this thing open in the background. I don't know if anybody's interested in such a thing. What we would call an off-air. It's essentially a live conversation without the streaming portion of it, where a bunch of people just get into a room and it's as if we're all in the same room and chatting with each other. Like I say, I'm not sure if I'm going to stay awake here, work on another project, or do like what this dog is doing, just sitting around being lazy. Right. Thanks again to, I think it was 545 from what was alluded to. Thanks again for grabbing stuff from the store. That definitely helped out. Thanks to Sean. Hopefully you have, thanks for joining in, being part of the show. Welcome. You're a night owl. We're live here every weeknight. The goal is to be live for hours every night. Like tonight, we're 2.5 hours in. I can do 2.5 hours, especially if I can sleep during the day and be awake all night. Normally, I got to go run around selling crap on eBay or doing this and that, catering to the whims of tiny animals, doing stuff during the day, and I don't have a chance to stay up all night doing shows. Right now, because of different circumstances, we're able to stay awake all night and do that to the puppy as many times as I want. But now I do see we're from 700 to 1,000, we went down to 600. So hundreds of people took off. Is it because I did this? And they can't handle it? They don't like the idea of me putting this dog in some kind of a weird breadbasket thing? I don't know. Now we just gained another 300 people. So we just gained people. So a certain amount of people don't like it when you do this. But there's hundreds of other people that like it when you do this. I just need to chase the views. I need to chase the viewers. Uh-oh, the other dog's waking up. You know what that means? That means I can take both of them outside again. We're going to go check out what that moon's doing. And we'll be back to pick you up later. If you're interested in purchasing something over at the store, you're more than welcome. We'll still be able to ship it out if you order during Free Patch Friday, which is literally still going on because of the islands in the Pacific. Technically, it's still Free Patch Friday.
GearWebsites.com is your source for firearms-based playing cards and books. We also have mugs, shirts, and posters with designs that we've made live. Of course, we have patches. Every Friday is Free Patch Friday. We appreciate your support. Thank you for shopping at GearWebsites.com.
Have a good night. Huh. It won't let me end the broadcast. That's weird.